Okay, my name is Betty Prudence Watts Williams.
Mine is Marjorie Jacqueline Watts Pitts.
I'm 91.
89.
February 1929.
Mine is February the 18th, 1931.
Home was at Upper Zion, correct?
Right?
What was Upper Zion? A lot of our younger family members have no idea because Upper Zion no longer exists. Where is it at? Where was it at?
Caroline County.
Yeah, it was in Caroline County.
Well, it was in what is now Fort A.P. Hill. What happened to make you end up where you are now? What happened to Upper Zion?
They sold the place. The government took it over.
Yeah, the government
Okay.
took it over.
Yeah. And you had to move.
Right.
What was life on the farm like at Upper Zion?
I can tell you it was fun. It really was. We got along good together, and of course the older ones had left when I come along.
Give me the name of all the siblings, starting with the oldest down to the youngest.
It was Sadie Burke Wright after she got married.
Right.
Okay.
Virginia Brooks
Virginia Louise Brooks.
and Cornelia Elmar
Tillett.
Brother Alfred Snake, Alfred Roosevelt Watts. Then
Hilda
came
Elizabeth
Hilda Elizabeth
Wright. Hilda Elizabeth Wright. Alice Viola
Frith.
Crawford.
Frith, when she
She was a first, but she was married last and was a
last,
Crawford somewhere.
after Frank died, she was a Crawford.
Who was that?
Cornelius.
William Louis Watts. Ribbit Pearl Watts.
Charles.
Hugh Watts. Betty Watts Williams.
Marjorie Jacqueline Watts Pitts.
So, where did you go to school at growing up?
Went to a one-room school at Upper Zion.
All right, I went to Sparta School, first, second, and third grade until March. And then when the government took us over, we moved, and I went to Lemar in March when I was in the third grade, and Ruth Cornell taught me the rest of the year.
Wait a minute. Why did you go to Sparta when
I don't have no idea, but Ribbit was there too in the seventh grade.
Miss Mamie Kay was my teacher, and she rode to school in a buggy and a horse, and they were black. And honestly, I thought she looked like a witch. I was scared to death of her.
Miss Clifton Rogers taught me. And then when I moved up here, like I said, Ruth Cornell taught me the rest of the third grade.
I remember my daddy coming to rest at lunchtime. And he had a hammer underneath a great big mulberry tree. He had a hammer. And we would sit there and shoot flies off while he took a nap.
No, that's all we had, mule and horses.
Okay. Did you ever know how to milk a cow?
Yes. Yes, I did. And I had one heifer that had big tits, and every time I was trying to milk her, she was trying to kick me.
I can remember cutting the chicken head off. My daddy raised chicken. We had to cook, and I can remember cutting the chicken head off. You better believe I was starving now before I did it, but I did it then.
I know y'all went to church just about every Sunday. What church did you go to?
Upper Zion Baptist. And you know how we got there? My daddy had a green pickup truck.
No, my daddy didn't have the green.
And then you
Mr.
take
Jones
and
had
load it with blankets and got in the back of the pickup truck and rode to church. But we didn't live over about 2 miles from the church at Upper Zion.
I thought it was a mile. What's it?
No, it was 2 miles.
Do you have any idea what happened to the old church?
The government blew it up.
It was a really nice church. It was a brick church.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
The same
church.
preacher that preached at Upper Zion preached at Bowling Green Baptist at the same time. I'm talking about Bowling Green Baptist. The same preacher married me. Mr. Dr. Ruller was the one that married me 70 years ago, 71 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
Do y'all remember being sunbeams?
Yes.
Yeah. Alpha Gray.
Miss Alpha Gray taught us.
You remember how old you were?
We might have been little.
We had to be around 6 or 7 to be in the sunbeams.
Did you know that those chairs that you sat in at Upper Zion now are at Bowling Green Baptist Church?
Our first childhood memory, I think I can remember my sisters giving me baths. And they had a little pane, you know, water. At that time, we didn't have running water or anything like that. And they would be washing me out of a washing basin or whatever you call them now. I didn't have no parents. They said I was a cute little baby. They really did. They said,
Did you have any chores? Were you,
Yes.
were you old enough to have chores?
Yes.
we had chores from daylight to dark.
What did you do?
But I remember picking cucumbers, and picking tomatoes and picking black-eyed peas.
That's after we moved out of the government era.
Like I say, I don't know how old I was. I can remember doing that on the
That's
farm.
what we did. We did have to do everything. Of course, we had to do chores in the house, on the porch, wash the lampshades.
You gave us the names of all 11 of the siblings and all, but you also had 2 first cousins that your granddaddy raised just like his own children. Can you tell us?
We know the first name, but I don't know. Elizabeth was a girl and Alfred was the boy.
I was Elizabeth Louise, I think it was.
See, I don't remember the middle name.
And that last name were?
They were Samuels. See, brother and sister married brother and sister.
No,
Papa's sister and Mama's brother had twins. And of course, she died of childbirth.
yeah, but Elizabeth's name when she got married was Gail. Elizabeth
Yeah,
Gail.
after she got married.
Yeah, after she got married was Elizabeth
But
Gail.
she was Samuel growing up. Because, see, our daddy never spanked the first one of us.
How in the world did he raise all those kids?
Because we were good.
No, I asked myself
Truthfully,
the same
I
question,
mean,
Randy.
when all he had to, we were scared of him, but the thing of it is he was calm and never fussed with us or nothing. If we did wrong, he would sit down and explain to us, but he never slapped one of us.
I remember the old ice house we used to have. We didn't. You don't have ice like you go to the store and buy ice now. But what they used to have a great big hole in the ground, and they would put straw around it, and we would have. At that time, oneers. We talking about oneers now. We had oneers that you had ice that thick,
Yeah.
and they would crack it up off the ice, what we call an ice pond, and put it in that hole in the ground, and that's where we got our ice from. We didn't have refrigerators. Like
We had
do
an
now.
ice box, but that would keep
Yeah,
that
we had an
block of
ice box,
for a
but
week.
you had to put the ice at the top of it, and that would keep the stuff down at the bottom.
And
cold.
we used to take milk and put it in a bucket and wind it down in the well to keep it cool in the summer.
Oh, I do remember something that was really neat too. That it wasn't nothing but us to have ice cream. We had an ice cream freezer. It wasn't electric, and we would make ice cream at nighttime. A lot of time in the summertime. Remember?
Yes, yes.
I could say my childhood was happy. I mean, we had a good childhood. You wouldn't think so. we didn't have money, but we had everything that money couldn't buy.
That's right. Well, I was going to ask you where all the ice cream lovers come from, because one of the few memories I can have of Granddaddy was eating ice cream. So
Yeah.
I understand. He must have been quite the ice cream guy. Huh?
Well, we made ice cream.
Yeah, a lot of ice cream.
We used to have Rena Rose. You remember the name Rena Rose? We used to have.
Oh, yes.
The whole
It
neighborhood.
looked like to me the whole neighborhood used to come to
I
our
know
house.
the whole neighborhood would come to our house.
See, you don't know, but
It
it,
also was a place to be. Huh?
Yeah, it was supposed to be. It was so. Well, so many of us, I guess they decide, well, I'm going there. You know, they used to raise the wheat and what they call thrash it, and they would make flour. And then they get the wheat out of it, and then they would take it to the mill and made flour out of it. And that was a big, big day, too. I mean, everybody would meet at Mr. Jones, the one that owned the farm, and bring a thrasher and thrash all the wheat out of the, you know, what they grow up in, or whatever you call it. And that was a big day.
A sandwich, I didn't know what a sandwich was. We had a hot meal. See, what it was, when we worked in the field, we all had to go to the field. One, like I said, if I take this week, I have to leave the field at 10 o'clock, come home, kill the old chicken, and fry that chicken by the time Papa and them come in. So the next week, Betty will do it. Then the next week, Ruby did it. We took turns.
Like I say, I can still see them chicken flying around with no head on, jumping around no head on.
We ate so much chicken, one we don't.
I was going to ask you, how did y'all learn to be such good cooks? Because the whole family is a family of good cooks, and you two especially.
Ooh,
I don't know, because I don't follow no recipes. You just put something in till you think it tastes.
We had a lot of fried fish. People said, shoot, people say you're not supposed to eat fried stuff, you know. Shoot, all we ate was fried chicken, fried fish, and drank milk. All the butter we could get, and eggs. They said all that stuff is not good for you. She's 89 and I'm 91. We're still living.
And then we got three sisters that, one was 96, one 94, and one was 92.
Another thing, Randy, I remember so vivid. It was when they have we used to have Sunday school picnics, and you would go to Fairview Beach. That's where we would go. And I can remember my sisters in the kitchen cooking all kinds of goodies and everything to take over that. And sometimes I wonder where in the world my daddy got the money to buy all the stuff that you used to, you know, all the cakes and, you know, how you go to a picnic. And I wonder where my daddy got the money from.
Fairview Beach was quite a trip back then.
Oh, my goodness, yes. You remember when Hilda...
won a trip.
Yeah, she won something at a trip to...
they had to write something in the church. I forgot what they had to do. And hers was the best in the church, so they let her go to the beach for a week.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It was an old colored man that used to live way back in the woods. You remember Uncle Joe?
It's three of them. Uncle Robert, Uncle Robert.
Whatever. No, but I'm talking about when we lived out in the house, he would take meat out of his meat house, what we call a meat house, and would give to that old black man at the time being, he would take a meat out of the meat house and give it to him for Christmas or whatever.
Wow.
That's the kind of guy he was.
Was it like to live with absolutely no electricity? There was no such thing as electricity.
You know, I believe I could be happy because you remember when they had the ice storm in 4 days? It didn't bother me a bit.
Electric was something that, you know.
Well, then so now the question comes from that. Once you had electricity, what was the best thing or the most unique thing then when all of a sudden you had electricity? What was the biggest thrill you say with electricity?
When was the first time we had electricity? I can't remember.
When Bert and I got married was this house, because down on the farm we didn't have electricity. You know, my uncle wanted to adopt Charles when Mama died. Papa said no, and he would never let nobody take it, none of us. Because see, Uncle Carl, wife, Aunt Hilda couldn't have children, and they wanted Charles so bad, but Papa said no.
You think he would have been and say, yeah, you can take as many as you want, but he wouldn't give it up.
That says a lot.
He was strict with us, but he was good. He never punished us.
I can
I
remember.
know when Betty was down in Richmond, she was dating. And we went down, was Alice, didn't we go down Alice that day? Where were we? We went,
I don't know.
anyhow, somewhere in Richmond, we were that Sunday. So Betty said, come on, Marjorie, this boy said, let's us four, and her boyfriend and this guy. Okay, so I asked Papa. He said, yes, but you know you got to go to school tomorrow. I won't be 16 years old. So we went out. And this guy, well, must have been in service, wasn't he? Because he took us to Quantico. Brought me home 2 o'clock in the morning. I took my shoes all tipped upstairs. I was scared Papa was going to meet me. He never said a word. So I didn't say anything the next morning at breakfast. So when the nighttime come, we sat around the table. I explained to him that we bagged them to bring us home. And Papa said, yeah, I heard you when you come in. But he never mentioned it to me. Never punished me. But I didn't go no more.
I don't know if you're going to put this on record or not, but I know when I was a teenager, and then we used to walk, I'm talking about Walter Hart, and I used to think he was the cutest thing I ever seen. And he wanted to date me one time, and Pep said, no, you can't go with him.
He would never let us go. The only person he ever let me date was Bernie.
Well, anyhow, he won't let me date this one. And I was heartbroken. I was wondering why. I thought he was the best looking thing I ever seen. But anyhow, you know that guy turned out to be an alcoholic. My daddy knew what he was doing at the time being. I thought, Lord in mercy, I thought he was being cruel.
What did it feel like to have to leave where you were born and raised at?
Oh, we were really upset. We loved Upper Zion.
Most of what I heard, it was a very nice place to live.
Yes, everybody was good and friends, and you had close neighbors that come to your house every night and pay cards.
That's another thing I remember. My daddy, they would get together, and I don't forget who used to get together, but they would get together and play 45 cards, 45. And believe me, Daddy didn't have any cheating in it either. And the women folks would get in the kitchen and make candy.
Yes, the candy that you pull. The more you pull, you know,
Sounds like
molasses candy.
They would make coconut candy sometimes.
But I tell you, my daddy loved to pay 45. But if you cheated, you were going out of the house. So Franklin Whitaker, that lived across the road from us, a young boy, he came to the house and he was playing, and he cheated. Papa says, you get up, go home, and he took the cards and put them in the stove and burned them up. He said, you play, but you're not going to cheat.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the big move. When y'all left Upper Zion, you came over here to Devil Street Jumps Road, where you finished growing up, you might say. What was that like? How did you
We
like it?
didn't like it at all.
I
We
don't
had
know.
to walk
We
2
had to
miles
walk.
and a half to school
We had to walk from down on the farm
to
to
Milford
Milford's
Grocers.
grocery. I used to like it because they remember Walter. He was a good-looking guy at the time, and I used to like this. I used to like it. Just put it that way. Judy, I used to like
All right, we're going to move on.
it. I think it would be a good idea.
What was it like? Well, we have pictures of the last day. I don't know if y'all can remember that much, that Upper Zion Church had its last meeting as a church family before they all had to leave. Do you remember anything about that?
I don't remember that, and I don't think I'm even in there. And I know I was at church that day. If Papa was there, we were there. The ones that I can see was Hilda Davis, and it was I didn't see Charles. I saw Brother Alfred and Wing Lewis, and Papa was squatting down on the very end.
Okay.
I remember another thing about childhoods too. We used to get in the cow pasture after church on Sunday, and people would all around the neighborhood and all would come, and we would play ball. We would play in the cow pasture.
Well,
What kind of ball was it?
Well, baseball. We would play baseball. It was a whole bunch of us because everybody used to meet. Somehow or another, used to meet at our house.
Yes,
And
everybody
in
in
the
the
summertime,
neighborhood.
we always have our cousins from Richmond. They what we call unfanted children. They would come up, and they lived in that great big house. Where was it? On Chamberlain Avenue, I think.
Chamberlain Avenue.
Great big brick home, and they got everything they needed, everything they wanted. But they would come to our house and spend the summer. Don't ask me where they slept or anything, because I don't remember. No, I used to catch a bus down where I live, every Sunday afternoon. I would go up here and catch. At that time, it's a little store there in the Bowling Green there. You had a trailway bus that would run down to down to Richmond. And I would catch a bus every Sunday afternoon. Well, that Sunday was a night. And that Sunday night, every time I would go get a taxi carrier to carry me where I lived, it was pouring down rain, and somebody else would get the taxi before I did. Well, one of the boys, Jerry Reed, do you remember him? You know what?
Yes.
yeah.
All right, Jerry Reed came into the bus station, and he, of course, I knew Jerry, but I didn't know Pat. And he came into the bus station, and he said, and I was telling him I couldn't catch a ride. He said, well, my friend, which was my daddy, my Pat, he said, my friend is over here in the bowling alley, and we came down the bowling and said, would you like for him to take you home? Pat was driving. At that time, he was a sport man, and he had a real nice car. And Pat took me to he took me home that night, and he asked me could he come to pick me up on next time when I come home. Cause he lived up here. He lived in Bowling Green. He lived over there on what did you call that road?
Edwards Lane.
Well, that's where he lived, and he asked me could he bring me home. And of course, at first I said no, no. Well, he met me up at the Trailway bus station up here at Bowling Green, and of course I let him take me home.
How many of the siblings actually lived here on Devil Street Jumps? I know by this time, who had already left home? Maybe that's what I'm asking.
Everybody left home, but I think it's from Alice down.
It was
But
you.
Alice soon left.
was
She
you.
said, I'm not going to take care of this house. I'm going to Richmond, go to work.
No, when it moved down there, it was you and me and Charles and Ribby.
Going to, that's the only ones that were
I
going
think
to
it was the only one that moved down there.
The rest had either married or had gotten jobs in the Richmond area or something like that.
Yeah, but I was 19 at that time when I left home, and we moved up here when I was 12, I think.
Yeah,
And I was
10, you
19
were
when I
12.
left home.
We knew, of course, I knew Bernie, by being the neighbor, but he used to, when just Betty and I going, he used to come sometimes into the store, and he always would buy coconut mounds. And of course, he came and picked Betty and I up and brought us home. But the joke was, I got 2 coconut mounds because Betty don't like coconut. So I didn't ever tell Bernie that Betty didn't like coconut. Because I love coconut mounds. So he used to come right often and pick us.
What are your children's names and what are your children's names?
My children's name?
Yeah.
Ronnie Neal Williams, Mac Wayne Burnett. Is it Mac Wayne Burnett?
Murder McLean.
And Deborah Sue
Okay.
Pickett. Williams now, but Deborah Sue Pickett.
Okay.
Hey, Burnett Jr., that's you. Larry Nelson, Judy Carolyn, and Barbara Dale.
Okay. Grandkids do you have now, Aunt Betty?
How many grandchildren?
Mm-hmm.
7,
How many great grandchildren do you
14.
Had 8, and I got 10 or either 11 that
When y'all weren't old enough, obviously Mama you weren't, and you couldn't hardly be when your mother passed away. But did you have any other tragedies growing up?
Animal tragedies.
Yeah, bad things that happened.
Well,
in the family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she did. She crazy things. She fell across a tin can one time and cut her leg off. That's why that.
Yes.
I cut it half too. I couldn't go to school,
She's
but I
always-
made the grade that year. I was 7 years old, and at Upper Zion, the kitchen here and the dining room here, and we had a swinging door between them. And I came through the swinging door, and I fell. It threw me, and I fell on this. You know these old rough canes, how they used to open them up. They didn't have no electric ones then. And it was real rough, and it was there by the stove to catch the ashes. Well, I fell on it, and I split my leg from here to here. I mean, about half. I'm not kidding. You could put your hands in it, walk or nothing.
She was
Couldn't go-
always doing crazy things, you know.
Now, that's the only thing I remember.
No, I can remember my brother Alfred going to, where did he go? He had TB.
No, he didn't have TV.
No,
They
but
sent
they
him
thought
to
he
Blue
did.
Ridge. They always carry you to Blue Ridge Mountains when you have TV. But he had a lot of lung problems, so they thought he had the TV. But after 18 months, let him come home and said positively he did not have it. Hilda had it too. Hilda had lung problem.
And I can remember Charles having pneumonia and had to stay in the hospital for
Gosh, how
how
long?
long?
I don't know, a long
I
time.
know he missed a whole year from school. He and I got in the same grade because he missed that a year from school. We was in, and we sat in the same desk at school. We at that time they had double desks, and we sat in the same. Charles and myself sat in the same desk at school.
Who made who behave?
Charles was always good.
So he made you behave in school then?
I don't think he made me. I don't think he was even that that strong. He was always good. Charles was a good child.
Yeah.
I was good too, Randy.
I know you are. You still are.
I mean, your sibling. Y'all have any funny stories that you can remember?
It wasn't funny, but my daddy gave us certain rules we had to go by. So he told Brother Alfred not to ride me on the bicycle. But Brother Alfred wanted to be real sweet to me and didn't put me on it and caught my leg. Well, it hurt my leg, but believe you, Papa never knew about it.
I can remember one time Brother Bill come across. We had a great big yard, and we had a great big long porch, and we had a screen door at the you know, they go into the dining room and kitchen. And Brother Bill came across that one on his a bicycle. Don't ask me where he got a bicycle from, but he had a bicycle, and his brake gave away on it. It broke, and he came across that and hit that porch. Boy, he went through the screen door and everything.
See that?
I like to tell a story about William Lewis, but I don't think I'm going to tell
No,
that one. Time he made a whisker and it broke.
I think that'd be better not to.
No, I better not tell it.
Also, this remembered some things too, because our Uncle Alfred and Brother Bill there both served in the armed services, didn't they?
In Navy.
Both of them were in the Navy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
William Lewis's ship was bombed on the end, but it, you know, didn't nobody get killed. But Brother Alfred never, he never got hurt or ship or anything. But both of them was in the Navy.
This was during World War II.
Yeah, they were drafted, which they went. They were going to be drafted, and they wanted the Navy. They didn't want the Marines, and they were sending all the boys to the Marines. So they decided to go on and join. So they both was in it at the same time.
And when you know you hear people talk about you cuss like a sailor,
Yes, ma'am.
you've heard people say that. Well, since Brother Bill came out of the service, you never heard the rest of us said too many bad words. But Brother Bill, when he got in service, he learned all them cuss words. And Brother Alfred didn't. I never heard Brother Alfred use one, but Brother Bill was awful. I mean,
And I'll tell you when Brother Alfred didn't, because Brother Alfred was married at the time. But William Lewis used to send, if that back then, if you send to your family money, they would match it. So the government took half of Win Lewis's and sent it to Papa, and that really helped him.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
I can remember the Mr. Jones and Miss Susie.
All right, now, stop at that. That was the people that rented the farm from over in AP Hill.
That was the ones that owned the farm that we lived on.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have to go down there and help. They had old turkey. They had a great big fenced-in place. They kept chicken and turkeys and things. They had a mean old gobbler, and I had to feed. I had to go down and feed the chicken. And I used to be scared to death of that old gobbler. Was mean. I mean, it was a mean gobbler. It was great big. I used to be scared to death of it. And I remember going down Miss Susie, and she was I don't know how old was she when she died. She must not have been too old, but she was old to me.
Was right old.
And she used to lay down on the couch and like when you scratch her head. And I used to hate to do it.
But
I used to hate to do it.
But she would say, "Oh, if you come and sit beside me, scratch my head, I'll give you a hot biscuit and preserve."
I used to hate to scratch that woman's head. She was little, and they were brothers and sisters. Miss Susie and Mr. Jones were brother and sisters, and they lived in that great big house. We lived in a small house. We was a tenant house, but they lived in a great big house. And they had a telephone. No, we didn't have a telephone. They had a telephone.
Make sure everybody knew, when you guys were really little, when Grandma died, of course Mom was 6 weeks old. I Betty, you were only a couple of years old. Do you remember, because I've heard...
I can't hear you, Judy.
Do you remember, because I've heard your sisters talking about who became in charge of the house?
Yes.
Oh, I can't remember. I know Hilda was.
Well, like I said, the oldest one. Now, Sadie was, but we don't remember it because we were young. She left and went to work. Then Sis Jen never did, because Sis Jen got married at 18. All right, so Cornelia, I don't remember. Cornelia took over.
No,
but
I can't remember.
I don't remember Cornelia. The first one I remember is Hilda.
Yeah, the first one I remember.
Aunt Hilda became more of a mother to you.
She was.
Than
Right,
a sister
right.
to you, right?
She told me 2 months before she died, she said, "I always felt you as a daughter and not a sister." Because she said, "I was in the room when Mama had you. I heard your first cry." And so she really was good to me. She
I
really
can't
was.
remember I can't remember Alice taking over.
No, Alice didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she
And I didn't
She
take
said, "I'm going to Richmond. I'm not going to take care of nobody."
And then Ribbit took over, and then your mama took. I never took.
No, because you were like Alice. You left before you got around to you. And then it skipped over you, so that left me. See, I was taking care of it.
I was going to get there. So, Mama, you were the last one to leave.
Right.
Home. When you left home and got married and moved in on the farm with Daddy, then who came in to take
Ribbit took over.
See, what it
But
was,
Ruby was not living there.
wait a minute. Ribbit came, Brother Alfred, she was helping Brother Alfred out on Coral Reeses. And Brother Alfred had that store there. Well, they had a little trouble, so he didn't go his 2 years. He just went 1 year. He asked Ribbit to leave Papa and live with him, so she did. So after they gave up the store, Ribbit came back home the first same year that I got married. And that Sue took care of Papa until he died.
When did the family reunion start? You remember?
It must have started right after Daddy died, didn't it?
No, because you remember Papa says, "I'm leaving with one wish,
I said before.
and that is that you all continue getting together." We got together every Christmas. I know that.
I said you're not going to believe this, but I was raised up in that big family. I can't ever remember ever having an argument with one of my brothers and sisters. You're not gonna believe
I
that.
tell you, better not hit one another. 'Cause
And I said,
my
I
daddy
never
didn't
heard,
believe.
not one ever hit me or anything.
We were
believe
scared.
you.
That
Because
don't sound true. I never had an argument that I can remember with one of them.
Seal's store was about 2 miles from our house. Upper Zion was about 2 miles. So they made better not walk to the store and get some groceries. So we used to walk to the store. And we weren't very old, but at that time, you know, you weren't frightened.
I
But
can remember something about going to the store. Used to be around the curve. I don't know how far it was from our house. Some black people used to be there.
Yes.
That and I had a old black girl. I shouldn't say that, a black girl, and because I like black people now, but at that time I was scared to death of them. And this black girl was, to me, she was halfway crazy anyhow. And I used to, I used to hate to pass that place.
Well, see, what it did, they sicked the dog on us.
Yeah, I mean,
And the dog would bark at us, and we would get scared. So we told Papa about it. So Papa went to the father and says, that dog better not come down that bank and bite one of my children.
No.
No. Over in Upper Zion, Uncle Davis Wright's father ran a store. Did I remember?
Across the road from the church, Davis was his
it was a
father.
post office in a store.
No,
wasn't it?
but it was Bynum Wright was Davis' uncle.
And that's where he met Aunt Hilda.
And then
Upper Zion Church was a pretty church. I mean, that was a really,
Pictures I've seen, yeah, it was a beautiful.
yeah, it was a pretty church.
Who?
Mr. Holloman married me.
Curtis Holland, yes.
Not 48. He came here in 46, but he married me in 48.
And what year did you get married, Aunt Betty? What year did you get married? You know,
49.
71 years ago, in April the
49.
16th, huh?
You were 49 when you got married in 1949. See, I got
I don't know
married.
what it was. I know it's been 71 years in April the 16th
Well, put it
of
this-
this month. I mean, April.
I got married the 18th of February 1948, and
December.
December. Betty, in 49, 6 months later, she got married in the 16th of April
Okay.
of 49. So,
Did your father ever remarry, or he
No.
was single?
no, he never looked at another woman. Some of them wanted him, but he didn't know. He never dated. He was a mother and a father. He stuck with the. One thing about it, he used to go to the store, Blanton's store, every night. He never came home. He didn't have that little bag of candy for us. He never missed a night. And you remember the little BB bats and things? That's what was in that bag. And of course, we couldn't wait for him to come from the store.
Don, you don't not believe this. When he died, he had a good mind. I mean, most of the time now when you get old, your mind don't work too good. Some people, but he died. Well, he wasn't old when he died, but when he died, he still had a good mind. You tell me how he did it. I don't know. With all them kids behind him, I don't know.
Died. Do you remember what year?
He was 68 when he died.
He
He
was-
died at the hospital.
He died with a heart attack, but
The second heart attack, he died.
I remember a story where Granddaddy Watts and Uncle Alfred were heroes one night rescuing a man down here in Milford.
Yeah,
You remember
yeah,
that?
yeah, right.
Can you tell us what happened?
It was an open air theater in Milford at the time.
You mean a
And-
movie theater?
Huh?
It was actually, people don't believe that was a movie theater.
Yeah, it was a movie theater. All right, we all were going in two different cars. William Lewis, Brother Alf, and all of us was going down to the open air movie that night. Well, we went to try to get a good place so we could see the screen. And Papa and Brother Alfred was supposed to come. They never come. and we worried about him, but we didn't know anything about it. To finally, I don't know who told us, when Brother Alfred and Papa went around that curve before you got to Black store, you know, around that sharp curve, a car had turned over and it was on fire. So Papa and Brother Alfred went and tried to get the guy out. Both of them caught on fire. Happened was a swamp of water. Papa rolled in that and got himself out. But Brother Alfred got burnt awful, and good thing he had glasses. And it was a long time before his face peeled and everything. That they tried, but they got the main out of the car before he got burned up.
I was a teenager, and then we used to walk. I'm talking about Walter Horton, and I used to think he was the cutest thing I ever seen. And he wanted to date me one time, and Pap said, "No, you can't go with him."
He would never let us go. The only person he ever let me date was Bernie.
Well, anyhow, he won't let me date this one. And I was heartbroken. I was wondering why. I thought he was the best looking thing I ever seen. But anyhow, you know that guy turned out to be an alcoholic.
All the years, y'all seen a lot of changes and new things. What's the most amazing new gadget out there now? I mean, what?
It must be Facebook. I don't understand Facebook. I don't know. I don't even have Facebook, so I don't understand it.
What about a washing machine or
Yeah, the washing machine was nice.
yeah?
Rather than that big tub of water and you doing like this to each piece, and then put your white clothes with dye on the stove to keep them white.
How about an electric iron?
The iron, you had to put it on the wood stove to get it hot.
And how about when you had electric irons? You used to put
Oh
it in
boy, that electric iron was great.
Where'd the red hair come from?
They always told us, Papa said, his mama.
How many in the family had red hair?
4,
Four of y'all?
it was Ruby, William Lewis, Ruby, Alice, and me. Then it was Betty, Hilda, and Brother Alpha had the dark hair. Oh, I prayed every one of my grandchildren wouldn't have red hair. And the only ones got it is Barbara's son, Matthew.
The most amazing thing that's happened in your lifetime?
When I married Bernie.